December 17th, 1777. December 17th, 1777. You know what the French government did? They recognized the United States of America. 17th, December 17th, 1777. In the dead of winter, the French government formally recognized the U.S. for the first time. France had been secretly helping the Americans since early 1776. Supplies of guns, ammunition, money, and soldiers. But it was all done under the radar. It wasn't officially, formally, with the acknowledgement of the new country by Charles Gravier, Comte de Vergennes. The French foreign minister. The war became an international one and entered a whole new phase. So, fucking A. America was just a colony fighting against Britain, the fucking premier empire of the world, and now we got another fucking empire. We got these two empires fighting over us. We're just like Adonis. We're like Adonis. You got that goddess of the underworld, was that Persephone's versus, and then Venus, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was in love with Adonis, and they both were pulling, just like Helen of Troy. Just like Helen of Troy, you had entire nations, two kings were fighting over one woman, and dozens, hundreds, who knows how many Philistines were getting their dick ends cut off. So Benjamin Franklin first went to France to seek an alliance against the British. That's King David. December 1776, Franklin sought arms and money, recognition for the fledgling nation. The Americans believed if France would acknowledge them as a sovereign country, it would aid in their ability to rally other nations to their side. France had been a strong interest in, and that's crazy that Louis the 16th, King Louis the 16th, is going to help us out. And then after we're successful with our revolution, once America's done with their revolution, 1776 to 1783, then France does their revolution, 1789 to 17... When did the head get chopped off? But just, 10 years later or so. So it's crazy that the king that helped America get our revolution is going to be the same king that the French revolutionaries are going to depose of. King Louis XVI wanted to acknowledge the Americans as well in order to punish his chief adversary, Britain, but he felt the Americans needed to prove themselves on the battlefield first to show the world that they're actually capable of beating Britain, which had the largest army in the world. France had a strong interest in aiding the Americans. The Comte de Vergennes wanted to see England paid back for taking French territory in America during the French and Indian War. Goddamn. The English took the entire continent away from France. Britain took every bit of America away from France in the French and Indian War. The French only had a couple of islands after, 1754 to 1763 was the French and Indian War, part of a greater 7 Years' War. It was a world war for its time. So, October 17, 1777, you had John Burgoyne first forced to surrender an army of over 6,000 men at the Battle of Saratoga when he was severely outnumbered and outmaneuvered by American General Horatio Gates. Horatio Gates could have been the father of our nation, because Horatio Gates wanted to be the commander-in-chief. He wanted to take George Washington's job, and after he won the Battle of Saratoga, that did change the momentum of the war and, changed world history as the first major loss of the war for the British, and convinced France that the Americans were capable, that we were able to defeat the fucking shitty, goddamn tyrannical redcoat sons of bitches. Word of the victory arrived in Paris on December 4th, and Ben Franklin went immediately to Vergennes with the news. Less than 2 weeks later, Vergennes went public with an acknowledgement of the Americans for the first time. So there you go. Thank you, Horatio Gates for smashing the shit out of that General John Burgoyne at the Battle of Saratoga. Made an army of 6,000 surrender. Forced them to their knees. Horatio Gates, American revolutionary. That's why we always have, every year we celebrate Horatio Gates' birthday, because we love our American revolutionaries. My God, do we love our Abraham Lincolns, our Dwight D. Eisenhower's. Word of the victory arrived in Paris December 4th. Ben Franklin went immediately to Vergennes with the news. Less than 2 weeks later, Vergennes went public with the acknowledgement of America for the first time. And that's France, too. Once France France tried to make Haiti pay them like a fucking tax in order to recognize them after they had enslaved them. Okay, we'll recognize you, but you gotta pay us $1 billion every year for the next 50 years, okay? If you pay us that, then we'll say you're an actual country. So it might seem silly, but I mean, like right now we got what, 230 countries? If another country wants to be a country, but we didn't acknowledge it, well, it doesn't become a country until, until other people acknowledge it. If nobody else acknowledges it, it's not a country. French involvement created a much broader theater for the world, including the West Indies, Africa, Southeast Asia, and Europe, stretching Britain's forces too thinly. Think of the Anglophone region. What is that called in Cameroon? Even to the point of withdrawing troops to North America to be deployed elsewhere, French help in the war was of enormous significance. The equivalent of $13 billion was lent by the French government to the Continental Congress. Several fleets of ships assisted in various battles of the Revolution, including the surrender at Yorktown. France helped us defeat the shit out of the English. I mean, we probably were nothing without France. French officers and generals fought alongside American militia members and contributed greatly to the American victory. Many historians believe that if it were not for the French, we wouldn't have won. It's probably very much true. So thank you, France. Thank you very much, France. I think France is going to beat Morocco, and then it's going to be Argentina versus France. So what is that? The colonized versus the colonizer, the oppressor versus the liberators. France has the rights of man. And then you have the Robespierre, and then, the guillotine. Hated King Louis XVI, hated Marie Antoinette, hated the shit out of Louis XVI, huh? When they say, off with his head, then their heads will be rolling. That's what they're talking about. They hate their royalists. They can't stand, and that's actually when France was at its best. And of course, France has that 20-year yellow vest movement still going on. So one day, those people with the yellow vest will not be treated like second-class citizens, and they will get their freedom. So never forget December 17th, 1777. Remember the Holodomor. Remember the Holodomor!